Welcome everyone. Shall we begin?
Yes, please.
Thank you all for coming along. Over the course of the next 90 minutes or so, we will do a bit of talking and offer you some exercises to do, some kind of meditation things, some movement things, some maybe even speaking to each other kind of things. And before we begin, I just want to stress that all of these things are invitations. If you don't feel like doing anything, then that's absolutely fine. You're not going to be singled out for it or anything. What we're trying to do is basically make some stepping stones from where we are now to a particular kind of being in the world that will become apparent as we go through. What we're doing is very simple in a lot of ways and will probably be familiar to many of you, and you may have your own takes and your own story of your explorations of some of these things. Speaking for myself, I am no expert in any of these things, but this is my practice. Green Earth Awakening down the years. Does anyone remember the hedge-spoken truck? We rolled in, I think it was 2016, and started telling stories at Green Earth Awakening and got such a beautiful welcome that Rima and I came back year after year and to Buddhafield telling stories, telling old folk tales from various places, this island, and a lot of traveller stories, a lot of Romany stories as well, Roma stories. Some of you may know me through poetry. I wrote a poem called Sometimes a Wild God quite a few years ago now that some of you may have come across, and I still write poetry, and that's connected with what we'll be doing. And I'm very honoured to be here with my co-presenter for this session, and her name is Dita, and I'll let her introduce herself.
Thank you. Thank you for being here, and some of you were perhaps here yesterday. I'm going to say it again. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I want to hear that more and more often in the world and for ourselves, so really grateful that you're here. I have fun having these discussions with Tom, but I'm really, really excited to have explore this topic with all of you. I think most of you don't know me. I've been aware of Green Earth Awakening for many years, and a very dear friend of mine came every year, and she really wanted me to come, but somehow something was stewing in me and making maybe ready myself to be here this year. So I'm really, really grateful, and she's somewhere in spirit guiding me as well. Maybe some of you know her, Mel Lamb. She guided me in many ways, and probably that's why I'm here as well. And I think that's it. I can tell you things I do, but I don't know if that's helpful. I'm really curious about how to make space for what I'm calling now regeneration, which for me is the first step towards what a lot of us call sustainability. Whenever I hear sustainability, I cringe, because I don't want to sustain the state of the world. And I know it in my bones. I know that there are different ways of being alive, of being in relationship. And all this work that we are presenting today, and a lot of the things I do, I have come to realize that it's just a work of remembering. So I don't think we are bringing you anything new, and I don't think we need anything new. I think what I'm interested in is to see what is in the way of those memories in our DNA, in the stars that made our atoms, in our cells, in that story that brought us here, our survival that brought us here. That's the idea that we come from the meeting of a sperm and an egg, of two people who once were strangers, and somehow we're here. So it's a bit of a miracle, every breath. So I'm curious about those things and what gets in the way. Yeah, I think that's all I need to say. And I'm so delighted to be sharing this. It's been amazing so far. And thank you, Nagalila, for inviting me and inviting us to do this together. Thank you.
Thanks, Dita. A 90-minute session is a tricky thing because really to do anything in this kind of work of listening to ancient voices, looking at how ancestry feels inside us and all of this kind of thing, the manners that we need to bring to that kind of work really demand that we probably spend half a day at least doing introductions and speaking about where we are, where we've come from, and all of this kind of thing. So if you can imagine that we have spent a long time already getting to know each other, and you know that I was brought up in East Anglia and lived in Scotland for a long time, travelled around living in a truck, and all the other more relevant things about my life, and that we already have established some kind of connection between us all, that would be fantastic. Hopefully by the end of this we will feel more connected in some kind of way. I have a very complex relationship with being a person on stage and presenting things. If you know me as a storyteller, you'll know that I'm not shy, so it's not about that. It's about trying to do something that is good and congruent with, you know, what I believe to be the seed of my soul calling. But on that note, I just want to say that all of this session is very much in the sense of us being co-explorers. Yeah, I said it before, but we're just the ones with the microphones. We're all in this together. Again, thank you, Nagalila. Thank you to everyone who's put this on and made this possible, and to this gorgeous land with its turning trees and the gathering sense of autumn. It's easy to rush into the exchange or transmission of information in these sessions as well, in these kind of things, you know, give a big kind of output to you of clever adjacent thoughts that we have about the world, or, you know, this kind of thing. I don't know about you, but when I come to sessions like this, I'm curious about why I come. Why attend something like this? What am I looking for? And I used to think that it was for information or to be inspired or all of these kind of things. But I think increasingly for me, it's about being reminded. It's about remembering how there might be a different way of being in the world that I already know, but which, being a fool, I forget constantly. So my deepest hope is that there is some remembering in some part, in some place in this room as we go along.
Thank you. I'm going to invite us to stand up. And unfortunately I forgot my bell, so I'm going to make some weird noises instead of a bell. Oh, that would be amazing. Thank you. Oh, do you have... No. Thank you. Yeah, this is amazing. So I'm going to invite us to move a little, maybe starting where you are and feeling really the place, the support of the ground. And also feeling the place, the grounds that you are bringing. The grass, the soil, the rocks, the concrete, the synthetic carpets, the inside of cars and trains and perhaps planes that your skin has touched. those atoms have become part of your body, at least for a while. So just noticing how we are a bit like sponges. Things can get sticky for some time. And sometimes something comes and flushes them out. So just feeling that regardless of what you bring, the earth is still holding us. The magic of gravity that I have started to know as love, that sense of attraction. We are here. We're not floating in space. So just let that guide you, and maybe there are some movements that may allow you to feel it. Don't feel that you need to move or follow what I say in any way. You can just be an observer or close your eyes or go out, ignore my words. But now I'm going to invite us to move around the room and just carry that. I wish I could walk, but I'm not going to go very far. So just mill around and sense each other, sense yourself. Maybe the things that you are bringing. And find somebody close to you, and including those who are not walking if they want to. And raise your hand if you're missing someone. There's one here. Are we good? There's one there. Tom, would you like to meet someone? Right. Nagalila. So I would love us to spend just a very short time telling one another something that your hands did or touched today that nourished you or somebody else. It could be something very small, where you stroke somebody's head, you gave somebody a bowl of porridge, you put that spoon in your mouth, something your hand did today that was nourishing for you or somebody else. And the person with the brightest top, please start. And I'll ring a bell before we start. Just find a way to acknowledge each other and start milling around again. And maybe bring some of that nourishing energy with you. Feel it in your body. And feel maybe there is something in you, like an essence, something out there in the world, in the future, that you feel that guides you. Just inviting just a glimmer of that. And just feel, maybe some people call it purpose, awakening, inspiration. Maybe some aspiration. And just find somebody else, somebody different. And again, raise your hand if you are by yourself. And I'm going to invite the person with the tallest person to start. Something in the world out there, whatever that means for you, something that you don't have control on, something that gets in the way of your purpose, something out there in the world that gets in the way of your purpose. And it's going to be short, so a minute each. Go for it. Great. Thank you. Well, now you choose who starts. I'm tired. Something in yourself that gets in your way. Something in yourself that gets in your way. And if there's nothing, just speak about that there is nothing. Something in yourself that gets in your way. And I want you to sense or imagine that each of us is carrying, let's call it medicine, something, an idea, a practice, something you already know in some way, or you're about to be told, that can help to ease that what gets in your way. So just feeling into that possibility, and how can it not be possible? We are made of fucking stars. What? Of course we know how to do this. So finding yet another person, and without giving them any context, not talking about what gets in the way, no context. There's a hand up here and one behind. Yeah. Oh, another one. So speak about things that would ease that. Again, without any context. Maybe it's a practice, an aspiration. Invite things that might feel like crazy. It's like, I don't know, a truckload of elders to be by your side. A beautiful purring leopard to keep you company at night. Whatever, let your imagination run wild. Or maybe you know some things that you're doing already, and just tell them, no context. Let's start with the person with, let's go with socks and feet. With the lightest socks or feet. Oh.
As we move along the slow pathway towards what we're trying to do here, one of the things that's really apparent to me, can you hear me okay at the back? Yeah. One of the things that's really apparent to me is, and I'm sure that many of you, whatever your cosmology is or your internal picture of what it is to be this thing, we appear to be made of many parts. Yeah, I am not one coherent thing. Or if it is a coherent thing, it is a very wide thing, made up of lots of other smaller things inside it, in different ways that could probably be divided in all sorts of ways, and grouped together in different ways. But there are parts of me that speak more loudly or more quietly, and with different voices at different times, depending on what I'm doing, depending on who I'm with, depending on what is happening in my life, depending on what is brought into life, really. And so I'm going to read you a short poem now called Clarion, which is from a book that I put out earlier this year, which is, half of it is poems in response to the ongoing genocide in Gaza, and half is poems in response or relation to what I call the devourer, or Moloch, that force in the world, not excluding that which is in us, which devours, not in a sacred devouring, but in a constant consuming of the world. But this poem is particularly addressed to one part of you, and so I hope that part can hear it. If that part does not hear it, nothing is lost but the opportunity to have heard. And if it is not heard, the fault is mine. My endeavor with language is to speak clearly and truly with power to particular parts, and I am still learning, so forgive me if it does not speak truly to that part of you. But this is called Clarion, or Do You Remember? I remember you as you were that golden day when you stood without fears and you were glorious, lit with a light you remembered at last, from 1,000 years gone by in triumph and ruins. I could see your crown then, and the sword on fire planted at your feet. I see them now still, for all that you and I are more mortal now than we were that day in our radiance, in all our wild glamour and our wickedly splendid joy. Do you remember that day? You knew your true name. You stood to your full height, and the world shone, and the giants trembled, and withered trees grew blossom in 1,000 ravaged lands. Come home, my friend. You were never exiled. I need you by my side today on the cold field of this war. Come back now. The world has missed the gifts you were bringing to the feast to which we were traveling. Now it is time for your brightest colours. You have starved us long enough of wonder. Look at the tangle of our confusion, the extremity of our distress. Wake up. Look, time is short, and Moloch's lieutenants lay claim to the earth. Lend your weight to the great effort now, lest evil and the devourer triumph. Rise up and remember that day. The withered trees are empty, and all the giants are abroad. Stand up and renew your promise. Remember our vows of service in the oath room of eternity. So, if that part to which I was speaking there pricks up its ears, then just welcome them in. In my attempt to speak true words through poetry, it's a constant navigation of what is comprehensible, what is true, and what is true that actually carries power. I'm going to tell you a story now, and if you've heard me tell stories before, this one is far less entertaining than traditional folk tales, but it's a true story, and it's the next stepping stone on this journey. And I don't know if anyone in this room, apart from me, has ever suffered with any kind of addiction. I suspect there's more than just me. Thanks, Dita. And whether your experience of addiction or compulsion is a simple one or a complex one, I suspect most of them are complex, or whether it's with behaviors or activities or substances or all of them. Mine, principally, since I was 15 years old, has been with nicotine. Yeah, I started smoking when I was roll-ups when I was 15 because I discovered that you could roll spliffs without putting any hash in and still get really wasted. And so since I was 15, smoking, trying to give up. I've given up smoking hundreds of times down the years. I'm 52 years old now. And stopped and started and stopped and started, and I've got kids, and I thought when I have kids I'll stop smoking, so I stopped smoking, and then I started again, and all the territory of disappointment and self-recrimination and revulsion and being smelly and unfit and all the stuff that goes on. And sometime over a year ago now, I stopped smoking for good. And I actually managed to stop smoking. It also involved stopping drinking. And at various times I've had varying relationships with alcohol. I love being drunk. I used to love being drunk. I haven't had a drink for over a year now. I also had to give up drinking coffee as well, because the three things seem to go together. So here I was in a reality free of those particular things. And along with those things that I was giving up, the real reason, apart from really wanting to give up smoking, was that I knew that there was work that I needed to do in other areas of my life, particularly in my intimate relationship life, where I needed to look at the way that I was making connection in the world. You know, I'm quite busy, or was quite busy on social media, got quite a following, and I was opening up like thousands of conversations because I'm a gregarious person interested in the world. But after a while, I began to see a pattern that, as well as, you know, just there being all these thousands of interesting people I was communicating with, by chance, most of them seemed to be hot young women. And I started to see that this was not a savory practice, not a savory behavior that I was indulging in. And I knew that if I carried on smoking and drinking, I would not be able to see what was behind that, what was happening there. So I stopped smoking and I stopped drinking and I started to investigate and track. And this is where the crossover with poetry comes in, because poetry, as I understand it, and what I'm trying to do with poetry, is really skillful tracking of the truth. What is happening? What is really happening? When I listen, when I'm quiet, or in the extremity of noise, like on a dance floor or something, tracking what is happening? What is happening here? And then trying to put language to it. And so tracking in myself what was going on with this connection compulsion, and with my the drink and the smoking and so on, I started to uncover some territory. And I started to use this method of trying to feel the nature of the beast into whose mouth I was feeding tobacco, alcohol, connection, all of these things. And to feel what the feeling tone of that beast was. Yeah. And before I do the big reveal, what was the beast, as far as I'm aware, I just want to take a couple of minutes for you to feel yourself, if any of you have anything that you're doing that's getting in the way of your fullest life, or the truest expression of your life force. I'm just giving the invitation just for a couple of minutes to sit with that and ask yourself, what is it feeding? What is the nature of the beast that I am feeding? With the caveat that it may be too hot, that stuff, for a 2-minute investigation. In which case, just sit tight, it's a couple of minutes. But if there's curiosity and you think it's okay, then yes, investigate. When you smoke, drink, doom scroll, engage in behaviors that you feel like they are numbing you out in some way, we could ask, what is the feeling that is being numbed? But sometimes I've found it's more useful to personify the thing that is being fed. So what is the nature of that mouth that they are going into? And if you don't have any compulsions or addictions or behaviors that get in the way, then you can just spend the remaining minute feeling smug or joyous. And if that investigation stirs anything that feels uncomfortable, just connect yourself to the ground with your hand, or feel the contact of your body against the ground, or find something that supports you. We're not going to dwell there long. This is a curiosity and a wondering rather than a kind of deep dwelling in this space. Because we're more interested in this session, particularly in dwelling in places of resource, which will become apparent as we go along. But for me, when I did that investigation, should we? Oh, okay. When I did that investigation and repeated it in the most honest ways that I could, I realized that without, belittling my connections, my friendships, my relationships, my community, and all of that, what was at the root of them all was loneliness. Yeah, this profound loneliness. And I was like, yeah, okay, lonely, yeah, lonely. I can sit with that. That sounds true. And I sat with it for a while, some months. And what started to happen was that I realized that the loneliness was not loneliness. It was homesickness. It was actually homesickness. That's what revealed itself. And I was like, homesick? That's a particular feeling. What is going on there? And so I started looking at my life, 52 years of life, having moved around a lot, all the stuff of my biographical being, times when I'd felt homesick or when I'd lost senses of home, whether that was physical home or friendship groups and all of these kind of things. I was looking at my biography, and then I was looking at, okay, what's my constitutional nature? I'm an acupuncturist as well, so I think in terms of, how we are, not just our stories of our lives, but we come into this world in different shapes and forms, with our organs in different states of health, and feeling, okay, where does homesickness exist in me constitutionally? Did I always have a sense of homesickness? And pretty soon I realized and remembered dreams that I'd had when I was a kid. I grew up in East Anglia, in the middle of nowhere, English parents, but until I was about 8, I believed that we were Polish Jews. And it was quite a shock to me to find out that we weren't, because I constantly dreamt about things to do with that. And that feeling of being other, of being in exile, of being in danger, always, I began to be curious, is this something from my life? Or is this something from my nature? Or is this something else? What's going on here? Not in the sense of like, past life kind of thing, but just curiosity. And pretty soon this cascaded into not what is biography, not what is my constitution, not what is necessarily my dreaming, but what is it in culture and modernity that brings me homesickness. And then it was as if a great door had opened into that homesickness and the grief that I felt of being estranged from the entangled life, the sane life, the life which we have all have in our ancestry of hundreds of thousands of years living in close community and belonging with the vibrant singing matrix of reality that we did, all of us, every single one in our history, no matter where our people are from or what the story of the last 5, 6, 10, 20 generations has been. We knew sanity once. Yeah. John Trudell, any of you know John Trudell, Native American activist and actor, said, as many others have said, you know, if we go back far enough, we are all indigenous to somewhere, and we knew the ways to live in harmony with the earth and with all of creation. And with that opening of that door, the grief of that loss, which I think has really been coming through my writing and through my living all my life, and which I've been kind of growing into, became a loud chorus. And as I realized that I had spent all my adult life trying to hide from that grief through substances, through distraction, through all the things that you can do, I thought, what happens if I stay with the grief, that particular grief of the loss of that entangled life, as I call it? And then it was as if parts of me that had been quiet enough for most of my life, noticed that I was feeling, noticed that I was staying there and not just staying in the distractions of modernity. And I felt them move closer to me. And my curiosity began about what would happen if I listened more and more intently to those voices and the dialogue between those voices and of my ancient parts, the sane parts, and the other parts of me which know how to do modernity. And the dialogue between those two parts is where I've been dwelling over this last year, and is what's of interest to me. I'm going to pass back to Dita now.
Thank you, Tom. It's amazing that I didn't know what you were going to say. I didn't know what Tom was going to say. Particularly, I didn't know about his flavor of the monster, of the thing that was being... Sorry, I'm mixing workshops now. For me, there's so many layers of shame that come, I thought, from my shortcomings as I was growing up. And there are many shortcomings and many reasons to be ashamed. But then with time I realized more and more that my family was carrying enormous amounts of shame. And I think they were ashamed of the shame itself. So we came up with lots and lots of strategies to minimize it, to make fun of it, to drown it in substances, you name it. So my investigation a lot has been what is behind that crust of shame. And I think loneliness is a big thing. It's a big thing for me. And when you said homesickness, it's just that is the core. I come from a family of Galicians in the northwest of Spain. And there is one word that breaks my heart just to think about it. It's called morriña, and it's a particular time of homesickness when you miss the land that holds you. So it's not just the people or the customs, there's something in the soil. And we've been separated from it. And I think I can speak for so many people, and we've been separated in so many different ways. So I also want to bring that extraneous kind of perspective, collective perspective. And maybe I eat a bit of humble pie, as they say, on the other side of the ocean. I thought, I've done it. After I don't know how many times, I used to joke to my friends that I'm really good at quitting smoking because I've done it so many times. I was really good at quitting, but I would start again. And so with many other addictions that really have their sneaky way of pretending they are not addictions. My dear Dharma teacher, Roshi Joki, she said once, I have noticed that I am addicted to my practice. I am addicted to meditation. And she noticed it because her body awareness would tell her, you are using this as a way of numbing yourself. Wow, that's my work, that's my solution for addictions, and you tell me that can become an addiction as well? But then the question of discernment and that body awareness and that remembering that we are calling in, it's there. It just needs to, I need to quiet down my head and the tension and the fear of, is this going to be a new addiction? Which is really present. To quiet down and somehow trust that I will know and just make space. And sometimes I have to make allowances. I'm not sure that's a good idea, so I'm not recommending it, but I am doing it. And that brings me to the outer world in some way. When I am in community, when I am sitting together every day, those things feel so easy. But then I go out there, I go back to having Instagram, I don't know why, and reading about the news and getting this amazing amount of information that comes not just with truth, but with a lot of potential for addiction, a lot of things that, to me, they feel like a parapet around what we are calling modernity, to keep it where it is. So I have that urge to even, I don't know, buy something. And then I realized I'm getting belongings because I don't have belonging. I just want to get rid of them. I want that belonging back. But it's so difficult. I need things. I tell myself, I need a computer. I need a phone. I need new shoes. So I'm trying to sit with the question, what do I really need? And not be too drastic about it. Because my feet are in modernity as well. And maybe I will never be rid of this. But perhaps by allowing that space to be there, at some point, some of us, some people in the future will be rid of this. So I just want to give that acknowledgement that it's not our individual fault where we are. We have agency, we have the possibility to keep on doing what helps us in the context, helps us and our village, whatever that means for you. But there is a lot of history of things that are pushing us to be addicted to something. Let's call it addiction. It might be something else for you. So acknowledging that huge, huge thing out there, and acknowledging that for me in this stage of my life, it's what some people call cold struggles. What those words? So as opposed to the hot struggles. So acknowledging that, wow, I'm complaining at a very high level. Some people really, really, really have it really bad. But that for me is a call to be even more attent to the things that keep joy, to the things that are kind of true life, to keep them alive and sane and healthy for those who come back, and calling them back, like sometimes we do when we are, say, in grief tending, calling back the people who are in the places of even more pain. I think I wafted a bit, so...
It was good wafting. Thank you, Dita. So one of the things that I hear in that is that our situation of being estranged, of being orphaned, of being exiled from what we have known for hundreds of thousands of years is not something that we can ignore in our own practice or our own work. Yeah, we are all in the same predicament. Yeah, and that is not to say that the nature of our predicament is the same. And obviously it's an important thing whenever we're talking about ancestry and kind of the streams of the ancestors and the past, to acknowledge, me as a white person sitting here, I have the privilege of not having, immediate previous generations of colonial trauma, of, suffering the particular violent excesses of patriarchy and so on in that particular form in my life. But where I would like us to go now is to do a little sitting with a gesture towards that stream of ancient knowing that exists in us. Yeah, it's not, in my cosmology, it's not out there anywhere in the field, or it may be out there in the stars, in the ancestor dimension. But what I'm interested in is what is actually in us, alive in us, in our blood, in our bones, in our marrow, because that's how I encountered it. Yeah, and I can only talk about that way. And so as we look at where we are now, here in 2025, in our situations of madness and exile, we can go back previous generations, and if you're doing ancestor work, working with ancestors, you would find kind of personalities that felt, supportive, generative, useful, and all of that. That's not what we're doing here. This is not that kind of work. What we're interested in here is going back to where personality is no longer a thing, where individual voices of ancestors are not a thing, but where it is more of a stream. Yeah, that there are currents within a stream. I don't want to put any figures on how long ago those times of sanity might be, and we can argue that round the fire or come up with some numbers. But we're going for the stream of what was sane, what was good. Yeah. And so in this next exercise, as I invite you to spend some time with in that stream, if you have in the previous generations, if you have suffered, if your people have suffered colonial violence in living memory, for example, or in the previous hundreds of years, I'm inviting you just for this exercise in no way to diminish or try and sidestep the realities of that, but to locate yourself further back. Yeah. We are listening for the bright voices of sanity. Does that make sense? I'm just trying to be careful about stuff, because we all, every single one of us, at some point, our people were taken from the land, yeah, or taken from sane living. Some of my ancestry is Roma, so, loss of place has a different kind of flavor. What is my land? Yeah, I'm a complete mongrel like most of us here. Where do I belong? I don't know. I can't say any piece of land was the home of my people, and that in itself is a strange feeling. Go back far enough, countless ancestors, homes all over the place. But I know the feeling of goodness. I know the feeling of belonging. I know the feeling of being in that entangled matrix of vibrant life. So in this exercise, we're just going to do a short exercise. Again, invitation here. We're just going to make a gesture towards those voices of sanity and goodness and knowing in our bones. That's all we can do in this kind of session. But I invite it to be a thing you return to if it's useful. So just to begin with, feel where your body is making contact with the ground or with other parts of your body. So I can feel the back of my legs on my chair, the soles of my feet on the ground, sides of my forearms. Let's do that. Palms on my knees, small of my back against the chair. Lots of talking, lots of ideas, just coming back into my body a bit. I'm going to take a couple of breaths and just relax my shoulders a bit as well. Just noticing how I am, little concerns I have about time, the charge in my body from talking about things which I feel strongly about, various voices making themselves known, saying this, saying that about how it's going, all of this. Bringing them all in, not exiling anyone. I'm not going to do that anymore. God, plenty of that. Relaxing my belly a bit. Still walk around with my belly tense. That's okay right now. Just trying to relax it a bit. Okay. So if we had a longer session, we would spend, a good deal of time doing some preparation here, and then some staying with sensation, and then coming out of it. Again, a 90-minute session is just a postcard from the territory. But what we're going to pay attention to now is our kidneys. So, you may know where your kidneys are, you may not know where your kidneys are. I'll give you a rough pointer. If you take a hand and find your belly button, just give it an affectionate, gentle locate, and put your hand over your belly button. Your kidneys are about on the same level round the back, either side of your spine. These little organs that have to work so hard trying to purify the liquids of our bodies, being affected by adrenaline, the adrenal glands, expanding, shriveling. And whatever your experience of your life, whether you've been having a life where your kidneys are nourished and supported, or where you've just completely hammered them through fear or through substances or whatever, here we are. And it's said in Chinese medicine that the kidneys are the house of the Jing, your essence. And the essence is the treasure house of life force. And that the kidneys are connected to all the bone marrow in your body, in your brain, and all the dark fluids in your spine and so on. All these rich, juicy places. And it is said that if you pay attention to your kidneys and your marrow and the spinal fluid, that your ancestral inheritance still sings in those fluids and in your kidneys. And that the knowing of the ancients is there if we can but just listen closely enough. So whether you can feel where your kidneys are or not, we're just going to spend a few minutes in that general area round our back, sending love to our kidneys who work so hard and trying to send them the message that we are listening. Without expectation, without, for now, urgency. Just try and locate your awareness in that general area. And if you are blessed with acute awareness and can feel the organs, then wonderful. But if you're like me, my awareness is not that acute. But I am good at listening. Deep in the kidneys, deep in the marrow, we remember. Before the herds of muskox, before the cave bear, before. And that knowing is not a static, still force. It is something that dances and sings. And if you lean towards it, it will lean towards you. This is my experience. If you find yourself getting tight with concentration, just relax a bit. That's it. Okay, and rest. Just a little gesture. If you repeat this, something happens eventually. There is a kind of ignition. Or so has been my experience. So when you're ready, just send one last thanks to your kidneys. I believe in being polite to your kidneys. Out of affection, but also because that is where the seat of all that knowing is in your body. And developing a well-mannered relationship with it is kind of what we're trying to do. Dita.
Thank you. Could stay there for the rest of the time. And you're invited to do that if that's what it feels nourishing for you. But I would love to invite us to do an exploration, and again calling in that body wisdom of our kidneys, of our bone marrow, of the things that maybe whisper in when we are not fully aware, or maybe you hear them very clearly. I don't. So I am going to invite us to an embodiment exercise, and I'm going to stand up, and if you want to stand up, do it. I have the experience that these things happen very potently as well if you do it just with your imagination. So if you don't feel like standing up, just stay where you are. And as everything in this session is fully optional, so just mute myself from your awareness if this doesn't feel what you need to do. So again, just feeling the earth, feeling that sense maybe you wear with a sensation or a voice or a memory from your kidneys and your bone marrow. Just allowing it to suffuse your awareness. Maybe swaying if that helps you feel the earth and warm up both sides of your body, or hugging yourself for a moment. Using your hands somewhere where it feels nourishing. I'm going to invite you to see if there is what we call ancient voice. Maybe you call it differently. Doesn't matter, but something that feels beyond time, feels very natural to you. It could be just one example of something you do every day. Could be something that feels like your life mission. Whatever feels alive for you in this moment. Just bring it to your awareness, to your body. I'm going to invite you to see if there is a particular stance, a particular body shape that comes up when you connect with that. Or maybe it's a movement. And you can move around the room if that helps you, or you can stay where you are. Sometimes as we do this, other voices join. Let's invite just the ancient ones for a while. And if this feels very, very weird, just ignoring any voices and going with your body. If you imagine that core true wisdom of life, now inviting you, if you feel like to exaggerate it, and if you're not moving, just exaggerate it in your mind. Make it really big, really small if it's small, really still if it's still, and moving if it's moving. How's your breath when you are in this place? How does the fluid between your bones feel when you connect with this stance or with this movement? Inviting you to sense, how does the world look like from this place? If you could stay in this place forever, how would your old age look like? How would the people around you look like? Your connection with them. And you're welcome to look around as well. These bodies connecting with their ancient voices. What shapes would you like to have around you? What movements? What type of being? To support this stance, this movement, you're listening, you're speaking these voices. Now putting them safely somewhere, maybe in one particular bone in your body, or just moving a little bit away from them. I want you to connect with, let's call them the voices of modernity. Something in you, maybe it's a particular, maybe it's connected with the voice that you just connected with a practice or a behavior that you have. Maybe it's a way of doing. Maybe it's the pace that you feel you have to be in the world. And again, how does it feel? Where do you feel it in your body? Maybe it's your addiction, if you have one. Notice what happens to your breath and allow it as far as is comfortable for you without overdoing it. Is there a particular thing you feel like doing? I want to run away. That's why my body tells me run. Run fast. Don't look, don't hear. Shut down. And for you it might be something completely different. And if it feels okay, if it feels a bit far, inviting you to exaggerate it a little, just go a bit far with it. And again, if you're not moving, just imagining that activity that you do, imagine that you're doing it non-stop. How does the world look like from that place? What senses are not available anymore? How do other people look like from this place? Other beings? How does your connection with them look like? Now just taking a moment, and again, just I'm going to shake. I'm a believer of shaking. Just allowing that to percolate and go into the earth. And I really trust that energies get composted, so don't fear what you're putting down in this way. One of my teachers who learned about these things in Nicaragua, he says there the people say life gives you thorns all the time and you shake them into the ground, shake the thorns down. So we are, perhaps it worked for you, perhaps not, but I feel that we have connection with those both parts. Most of us have connection with both capabilities. I'm capable of things that I find horrifying, and I'm capable of things that are amazingly beautiful. This body. So I'm going to invite us to feel how we can move from both, from one to the other. And my aspiration is to find those places in our bodies, those sensations in our bodies that can be our helpers. And sometimes we need more than ourselves. So if you feel like you want to do this with another, this is really powerful. So if you find one or two people you want to do this, and again, if you want to lay or sit, you don't have to share it with anybody else. But inviting people if they want to look around and find someone or not. We're just going to embody them now, mirroring. So one person will embody one and one person will embody the other. And if you want to do it, you can do it with yourself. That's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to allow us to find our way. Any questions? Any clarifications needed? Right, so if you are with someone or with two people, one person decides to be embodying that ancient voice, whichever it is. Remember where you were, what the essence was, how your posture was, how your breath was. Just take a moment to do that. And if you are by yourself, inviting that to be again online. Choice of words. Be in your awareness. And then the other person or persons invoke that stance, that movement, that energy of the modern voice, the one that gets in the way somehow, if it does. And if you are by yourself, inviting, and maybe you have one on one side and the other one on the other, or you sway from one to the other. So let's just do it. Let's do it. The ones who are ancient, how do you move? What shapes do you have? Remember? Maybe it's a new one now. So the person who is embodying the ancient one, just start moving or emanating that energy that you connect with that ancient voice. Don't worry if you feel that it looks strange. That's part of this. And the persons who are with the modern also, just do it one in front of the other for a moment. And if you can, if you are by yourself, just try to sense your body when you move from one to the other. So just look at each other and how that affects you when you see the other person, when you feel that part of you. If you are an ancient voice, what does the modern voice tell you? Maybe it's bringing a message. And if you are the modern voice, in the side of you that is with the modern voice, how does it feel to connect with the ancient voice? What happens? Allow the changes to happen if they need to. Inviting a dance between those parts. I'm very curious about that place where they meet. Can they have a conversation? Can they listen to one another? Can they see each other? Remembering that we have choice to say, no, I don't want to hear you right now. So if you're seeing someone doing the other side and you want to not see it, that's fine. Absolutely. And in yourself as well. So, inviting us to come to completion, and again, maybe stretch or shake, hum. Thank you so much for your participation in this, your exploration. May you have found something useful in some way.
Thank you, Dita. We started a little late, so I'm aware that we're now eating into your lunchtime. If it needs attending to, then it is just gone 1:10.
We were until 1:30.
Aha. I think no, until 1. I think we were until 1. Yeah. No, that's fine. That's fine. That was the important part. There's a lot more that we could say, and there was a lot more that we were going to say. But we, as I say, we started late. The one thing I want to add before we close this off for now is that the longer I stay with this principle of being in the stream of these ancient voices, the more it seems to me that everything that I value comes from that place. Yeah, whether it is things of social justice or things of challenging norms in culture as we have them now, relationships and how we are with one another and so on. My ecological self, all of these kind of things, everything comes from that place. And I don't want to have my modernity selves feel like they are just complete pariahs within myself. So it becomes complex, keeping that dialogue alive. And also, how would my life look if I just listened to my ancient voices? Yeah. Could I exist in the modern world sanely if it was just those voices? So there's complexity and nuance to all of this. It's not a broad brushstrokes thing. But what I do know and want to finish my piece on is that when we start listening to those ancient voices, we become more powerful. Yeah, a stream, a current in us becomes stronger, and life force grows in us. And modernity feels like a set of flashing mirrors for catching starlings, the starlings of our ancient parts. And when we stop paying attention to those flashing mirrors and become more powerful with the ancient voices in us and that essence that come in from our kidneys and our bones, we become something more dangerous to the capitalist world, the colonizing world, to the machines of modernity. And so it does everything it can to keep those selves offline, out of our awareness. So there is an aspect to this work which is in itself, I think, radical and revolutionary, which is that it's becoming more fully alive. And as soon as we become more fully alive, we become dangerous. And who knows what we might do if we changed our relationship to who we are in that sense, and maybe our relationship to what it is to even be alive, and that our lives are something borrowed from the great stream of life rather than something that we should get so worked up about. Anyway, thank you all so much for coming along. I'll let Dita finish the session. I'll be around for the rest of today and a good bit of tomorrow as well. So, and I love talking about this shit, so come and talk to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tom. It's a beautiful way to finish. I don't want to add anything to that. So let's just hum. Let's use our voices to calm. I need to calm my nervous system. I don't know about you. Let's just hum. Your voices, whichever way you want.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. Thank you, Nagalila, for inviting me to do this. I was quite reluctant, whilst also very flattered. Thank you to this place and to the spirits of the land that surround us. Thank you to all of those who come before us to bring us here. I hope there's been some nutrition for you from this. And if you're interested in this kind of thing, then maybe come along to the session that Rosie and I are running at 2 o'clock, is it? 2:30, thank God for that. Which is the Loom, which is a community storytelling, story weaving experiment that we're working on, of a different kind of way of working with story. It's essentially a kind of de-othering, community weaving project. So that's in here at 2:30, so do come along to that. And particularly thank you to Dita for being my co-explorer on this. It's been a joy.
From tomorrow at 11:30, if you want to explore your dreams in some wild way.
Hey.